2 and 3 for Ziktomini. So this is game 4. And we are finished loading up. Let's introduce these two players. Would you like to do the honors, Lurlium?
I would love to. Thank you, Medals. We are here on Abyssal City in the top left. Well, actually, it's not really the top, is it? On the left spawn position of this beautiful blue map, we've got the blue Zerg player, Ziktomini, playing for Western Wolves, of course. And on the right side of the map, we've got his challenger from the Netherlands, playing as the red Protoss player on a blue map at a natural disadvantage. Will he be able to tie the series back up to 2-2, or is Ziktomini going to take a decisive lead at 3-1? We'll be finding out right here, right now.
We will indeed. Now, this is a really interesting map. It is, of course, Abyssal City, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this. The natural base has a really wide open area into it, so straight away, that can cause a little bit of problems potentially for the Protoss. It's not too huge though, so it is a wall-off, but it is one of the larger ones. And then we've got to start looking towards the third base, which of course can have some interesting things. You can either take the one from Ziktomini's perspective to the very south, but then you're a long way away from your natural, sort of very large distances, which can make things a little bit awkward should a push come up towards your natural. There's this half base as well, and all in all, it has a few interesting features, don't you think, Lurlium?
Yeah, this map is relatively new, of course. We haven't really seen it around that long just yet, so there's some unexplored possibilities, some new cannon rushing positions that could be discovered that we haven't yet seen on this map. And as we've seen, Harstem does like to throw in a cannon rush every now and then, but it doesn't look to be the case this game. It's already 2 minutes and 16 seconds, and we don't see a forge down. So Harstem is probably just going to be playing a Nexus first, and we might see a macro game, a real macro game. We've only seen
real macro game
so far. Yeah,
we may indeed.
Half macro games are games in PvZ that go to 2 bases, but don't really go to 3. That's a half macro game.
It's like it's a semi-macro game. It's fine. Of course, the best thing about this map, guys, is the floating shark at the right-hand natural, which is now off screen, unfortunately. The floating shark is my favorite thing in the world. I love those floating sharks.
Yeah, there's one in Cloud Kingdom as well, isn't there?
Yeah, there is indeed in the middle, but only on some of the versions. That shark should definitely make a cameo appearance in every single cast, in my opinion. It should be a staple of every map. It should be there. That is my thoughts anyway. Anyway, coming back to the game, we do of course have for the moment the Forge and Gateway on their way for Harstem, who went Nexus first. Ziktomini taking his third first due to the fact that there was a pylon block by Harstem in the natural. Very standard thing for Zerg players to do, because ultimately, why not? But Harstem really does not want this base going down, throwing the Gateway as well, which we saw in Game 2. So he is happy to delay this for as long as possible, as we've seen. So this is irritating. It throws Ziktomini's timings off. Of course, he was in line to go for a 4-minute third base, but instead getting it at about 4:10, 4:12. So not a huge delay, but those 10-12 seconds can have an effect if you're going for a very specific 2-base timing push.
And that might be exactly what Harstem is planning on. We haven't really seen any indicators of that happening just yet. As his natural is just now finished up, his cybercore is on the way, the cannon is finished up. He doesn't have a full wall off, which is important to point out. There's a bit of a gap there at the bottom as the probe scoots through that area I was just now talking about. And we're once again in the situation where the Zerg has 3 bases, the Protoss is on 2, hasn't really made any decisions yet that we can see. Of course, Harstem is going to have this plan in his head. He knows exactly what he wants to do, but there have been no indications of what he wants to do to us as an observer yet.
Indeed not. The one thing I'm noticing from Harstem is he has 2 probes in each gas in his main, so his gas is going to be slightly lower than we may expect. It does mean that he's going to have additional minerals, which means he can get out some warp gates slightly quicker, should he want to. So that's something that I'm going to wait and see if he chooses to do. He has yet again skipped the Zealot, which we've seen as a staple of Harstem's play for the moment. Now grabbing his 3rd gas, still just on the 2 probes in the main though. So this is definitely very characteristic of Harstem's playstyle so far this series.
He doesn't always skip the Zealot, though. He was making a Zealot and then cancelled it, or maybe did he lose it? He does have 1 unit lost.
He may have lost it.
I think he's lost the Zealot. Let's no,
the unit's lost. It couldn't have been that because he forced cancels and the pylon. Yeah. So that was the Gateway and pylon lost. So no, he skipped the Zealot.
But there's a Zergling in the middle of the map who has a kill.
That would have been on a. I'm confused now. We'll just brush over this unless someone in the chat tells us which one of us is right, because apparently we can't remember the things we've said and seen. So bad on us, but we do see the fourth gas now on its way for Harstem. So he's actually pulled one of these gas out and is now getting 4 additional gateways. So it's going to be a 5 gate push minimum. And the probe has trapped himself in the corner. No, he hasn't. He does manage to get out. I thought that was there. He was just scaring me. But no, look at this. Oh my goodness. The gateways. The gateways. There's so many.
There's no real Overlord in position to go ahead and scout this 8th gate coming. This Overlord of Ziktomini is going to try to poke into the natural once more to see whether or not that 4th gas is taken. That's what the Overlord is looking to do right now. And here it comes, and it sees... No, it doesn't see just yet.
Sees nothing. The Overlord is getting back. It's taking quite a bit of damage. That's going to deny Ziktomini the scouting. But look at this. Look at the probes on here. We've got 2 probes in each gas on the main and 2 and 1 in the natural. So this is going to be a very zealot-heavy composition. Straight away, we know that much. And it's sort of what I was predicting from early on, if you remember. I thought that we'd be seeing something with a lot of zealots straight away because there was that lack of gas. It allows you to get this high gateway count out. And that's going to cause problems for Ziktomini if he does get a good number of roaches out. But as we can see, he's already starting production of quite a few roaches and also getting up a good number of zerglings. So he should actually be fairly comfortable holding this as long as he keeps producing.
As long as he keeps producing, he should be fine. 14 Link 6 roaches now on the field, but we have to keep in mind 8 gateways can spawn a lot of units at once. 2 Stalkers and 4 Zealots are being warped in, plus 1 has finished up. There's a good amount of sentries. There's 6 of them out on the field right now, so a lot of force fields are able to go down. Looks like 2 Links are going to run to their deaths here. And oh, Ziktomini was out of position. He does have Zergling speed now finished up. Roach speed not quite finished up. Looks like Ziktomini was gearing up to go for some kind of drop play with his roaches. The sentries are a little bit caught off. Oh, what a weird engagement this is, but I think it's going to be good for Harstem.
It is indeed going to be good for Harstem. These roaches are not together, they are not in a good attack angle, and they are all getting destroyed. Ziktomini is now going to have to be in full production mode, getting a lot of roaches out, and roaches is exactly what he needs. This is a zealot-heavy composition where the roaches are going to engage well, but the Stalker count is still there, and Ziktomini being forced into a full retreat. The pylon's so close to the 3rd base. Ziktomini's in serious problems here, Lurlian. Really serious problems.
Very, very, very serious problems. As 2 Zealots are working away at his hatchery. The Zealots do have +1 finished up. Of course, the Roaches have +1 armor, so the upgrades pretty much cancelling each other out. The Zerglings have +1 armor as well. Both of the units that Ziktomini has are benefiting from that. And it's looking really good for Harstem right now as he's poking into the natural. The 3rd base is taking more and more damage. The drones are being pulled. Ziktomini realizes there's no way he's going to be able to hold his 3rd base, and he's going to try to get these drones into the battle as well.
Indeed, and I think that's a good choice, but I love the way Harstem split his army, only leaving a couple of Zealots to pick up the 3rd base and instead pushing forward towards the natural, and that's what's caused Ziktomini so much problems. The drones are swinging this battle in Ziktomini's favour for the moment, but of course so many of them are going down that this is good damage being done by Harstem at the moment, who's started probe production back at his base behind this.
Looks like Harstem might be forced out of here. Ziktomini not quite back into unit production yet, or into drone production, I should say. He's still producing a lot of roaches, and it might be enough to hold Harstem off for now. But like you said, Matters, a lot of workers have been lost, but we're going into this weird situation where the Zerg still has his 3 bases and can make a recovery, whereas his 3rd base would have been dead. It would have been a whole different story.
Indeed. Now, we're seeing here that obviously that was held off quite nicely by Ziktomini, but 29 drones were killed there. That puts Harstem 15 probes ahead of the Zerg player. That is very, very important because even though the 3rd base did stay up, nearly all of the drones there were taken out. And of course, that is a big loss that's going to take Ziktomini quite a long time to come back from. You can see his minerals in the bank are very, very low. His gas quite high, and he's still got a couple of drones mining gas around the map. So that is something that maybe isn't that great for him in the moment. He needs to get as many drones out as he possibly can. He needs to rebuild 1 queen as well, but his macro hatch is definitely going to help him. This aggression at the front, the cyber core though going down, Lurlian, this is pretty aggressive.
This is looking quite good for Ziktomini right now. He could win the game with this push. He has droned up to 50 again, so they are on equal worker counts again. The cyber core has gone down, so it's only Zealots in production right now. There is another cannon on the way, but Ziktomini is picking off whatever he can. Gateways, cyber cores, he's taking everything he can. He's just being defensive and, buying time.
And I think that's what you've got to do here. Against that many roaches, when you've got 1 cannon that's about to fall, you are in tough spots. The force field's really just saving Harstem at the moment, but the winning thing for Zikto was being able to pick off that cybernetic score.
Finally, the cybernetic score has been reconstructed. I think I saw it building. Oh yeah, there it is in the back of near the back of the natural. So Stalkers can be warped in again, and Stalkers is exactly what he needs. He also needs more Immortals and more force fields right now. Harstem is holding on. Ziktomini is still in unit producing mode. He is still on 50 workers. He is not investing into the mid or late game at all. He wants to finish this as soon as possible. He does have drops and Overlord Speed on the way. Overlord Speed has finished up. Drops not quite done yet, but he is looking to punish Harstem this way. He is a very immobile army without any Stalkers, so drops are a pretty good option.
They are, but the dangerous thing for Ziktomini is that Harstem does now have 2 Immortals out, a third on the way against Ziktomini pure Roach Force. That is going to be difficult to contend with. He's got to snipe them off, but the sentry count very high. Harstem's got the option of some good force fields to try and keep those alive and really cut up the Zerg army. So Harstem was incredibly good at delaying this force, making sure that he can get up the units he needs. Now with the 3 Immortals still kind of boosting out more, he is certainly wanting to hold on and is doing a good job of that so far. And it's worth noting, as you said, that Ziktomini only had 50 drones. That's good short term because it's allowed him to get up a large army, but as this game goes longer, it's going to start causing him some problems. With a drop coming into the main base, picks off one of those Immortals straight away, and well, Lurlian, this is not a fun position to be in as Harstem.
Harstem is handling it really well, though. Some good force fields at the natural, and he's cleaning up the roaches in the main base too. His Immortals are doing some really great work here, and it looks like Ziktomini is going to try to get out of here, but he's still putting on the pressure on Harstem. Harstem doesn't have a robo anymore, and even though Ziktomini still on only 50 workers, Harstem doesn't really have the tech that he can use to punish his Zerg who stays on lair tech for this long. And here comes Ziktomini again. The force fields are okay by Harstem, but he's going to lose a few sentries left and right here. More roaches still streaming in here. The roach is going to be dropping into the main base. There are a few Stalkers here, and a few Zealots might be able to hold that off. Oh man, this is a close game.
This is a very close game indeed. So much aggression. The drops into the main may be the saving grace for Ziktomini at the moment. It's being pushed back at the moment, but as we can see, Zikto, he's trying to get the surround. Harstem may have overextended himself here, pushing so far out of his base. The surround from Ziktomini, the force fields are as good as you could hope for, but as we can see, the Immortals are getting taken down. The sentries getting taken down very quickly. This is not a good position for Harstem, and considering the fact Ziktomini are now twice the supply of Harstem, I'm expecting to see this game end very soon indeed.
Looks like the mass road strategy is going to be too much for Harstem to handle here. Ziktomini is just going to be like, okay, you're chasing my army this way. I'm just going to go into the main base and drop everything. And this is going to probably trigger the base trade out of Harstem. There's nothing he can do. He's actually not even going to try the base trade. GG comes out of the Fnatic player as Ziktomini takes that dangerous 3-1 lead.